Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to try something a little different. I want you to step out of your modern life for just a second. Imagine you and I are sitting across from each other in a quiet, stone courtyard in ancient Rome. You've come to me because, well, you're in a crisis. The weight of the world feels absolutely crushing right now. You're overwhelmed, you're anxious, and it genuinely feels like everything around you is just falling apart. Listen, as your mentor, I see your distress. I really do. I see how heavily this burden is weighing on your shoulders. But you know what else I see? I see this immense, completely untapped power resting dormant inside of you. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through a blueprint forged over 2,000 years ago. It's a mindset that literally helped warriors face battle and ordinary people overcome extraordinary suffering.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why do you expect calm seas? Honestly, this is where your suffering truly begins. You came to me frustrated, kind of feeling betrayed by the universe because things are hard right now. You expected success. You expected comfort, maybe even fairness. And because life has, frankly, failed to deliver on those expectations, your mind is just drowning in anxiety. But my friend, I've got to ask you, who ever promised you that life was supposed to be easy? Seriously, the illusion that you were meant to live a life entirely free of discomfort, that is the exact thing tearing you apart right now.
Chapter 1. Acknowledging the storm. Imagine a sailor for a second. A terrified novice sets out on the ocean, fully expecting calm seas and gentle winds every single day. When the first storm inevitably rolls in, that novice is completely paralyzed by terror. But a master, a skilled sailor expects the storms. They don't just put up with the dark clouds, they prepare for them. And because they prepare, they survive. You've got to remember this truth. Difficulties are not interruptions to your life. They are literally the substance of it. Right now, you're sitting there asking, why is this happening to me? Well, that's the voice of a victim. I want you to completely shift your mindset from victimhood to supreme empowerment. Stop asking why the storm is raining on you and start asking, how will weathering the storm forge my absolute strength? The moment you change that single question, I promise you, the universe stops being your enemy and it becomes your training ground. Chapter 2. The Dichotomy of Control. We really need to get to the absolute root of your current anxiety. Your panic isn't actually coming from the events happening to you, it's coming from the fact that you are totally exhausting yourself trying to fight reality. The great Stoic teacher Epictetus laid down a foundational rule for this exact sickness of the soul. He taught us that there's a clear split. On one hand, there are things we simply cannot control. Think about it. Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, the past, or even the unexpected crisis you are facing right this very moment. Yet, you burn your precious energy trying to manipulate them. But look at the other side. Your actions, your reactions, your attitude, your character, that is your domain. I promise you, as your mentor, true peace begins the exact millisecond you stop fighting the uncontrollable and start pouring 100% of your focus into your own domain.
Chapter 3. Mastering your inner world.
I know that right now, heavy emotions are completely flooding your mind. Fear, anger, despair, the whole shebang. Listen, there's a terrible myth out there that to be a true philosopher, to be a Stoic, you basically have to become a stone, that you just suppress your feelings and feel nothing at all. That is entirely false. We feel the exact same heartbreak and terror as anyone else. But being a Stoic doesn't mean turning to stone. So the crucial point is this. Imagine your mind is a vehicle. Your emotions, they're merely passengers. They're totally allowed to ride with you, and they actually provide really valuable information about the road ahead. But they must never, ever be allowed to grab the steering wheel of your actions. Anger, fear, sadness, they're just data. When you let those passengers drive, a reactive mind only breeds more chaos, and you're gonna crash. I want you to do something for me right now. Just take a deep breath, breathe in, and let it out. When the crisis hits, when that nasty email arrives, or when the rejection happens, you absolutely never have to react immediately. You have the fundamental right to pause. In that tiny, tiny space between an event happening and your reaction to it, that is where your entire freedom is contained. That pause is where your power lives. Guard it fiercely. Look at it this way. Resisting reality is exactly like trying to navigate a dark forest with a map, but absolutely refusing to admit where you currently are on that map just because you don't like the location. If you do that, you'll stay lost forever. Accepting reality doesn't mean you're throwing in the towel. It doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you bravely look at the painful truth of your situation so you can actually figure out your next move. It is the only true starting point for real progress. Chapter 4, The Obstacle is the Way. I want to challenge you here. I want you to take the very crisis that feels like it's crushing you right now, and I want you to flip it entirely upside down. Right now, you're looking at it as this massive roadblock preventing you from living your life. But what if it isn't blocking your path? What if it is the path? Let's move to this next idea and see how this builds. Think of a fire. If you throw a small obstacle at a tiny, weak candle, the candle is blown out instantly. But if you throw an obstacle into a roaring bonfire, the fire doesn't just survive, it completely consumes the obstacle and uses it as fuel to grow even larger and burn even brighter. You must become that roaring fire. Step 1, the obstacle appears. Step 2, you pause and observe it without reacting. And step 3, you consume it to grow stronger.
This right here is the eternal wisdom of the great Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius. And hey, he didn't just write these words from the comfort of a luxurious palace. No, he survived political chaos, brutal warfare, plagues, and immense personal tragedy. He survived it all by realizing that the struggle itself is not in the way. The struggle is the way. The hardship you're facing today is exactly what is required to build the strength you are going to need tomorrow.
Chapter 5, Memento Mori. Now, I need you to listen closer than ever. I am about to deliver the heaviest, most liberating truth that will instantly shatter the modern anxieties currently holding you hostage. Memento Mori. Remember that you will die. I know, at first glance, this ancient reflection on death sounds terrifying, maybe even depressing. But as your mentor, I promise you, this is the absolute ultimate cure for your current state of panic. It is the deepest medicine I can possibly offer you. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how a limited timeline acts as a magnifying glass for truth. When you truly internalize that your days are numbered, all of these overwhelming problems that are keeping you awake at night, they are forced to shrink into absolute nothingness. You stop wasting time on Anchor. You stop obsessing over a rude comment or some temporary financial setback. You stop seeking approval from people who simply do not matter. Acknowledging your mortality clears the fog of anxiety and forces you to focus entirely on what is actually important. Think about it. If today were your final day on this earth, would the problem that's currently causing you so much stress still matter? I want you to really, truly sit with that. Almost certainly, the answer is no. Let that realization wash over you. Let the anxiety dissolve. Life becomes incredibly rich and incredibly clear, the exact moment you realize it's deeply limited. Chapter 6, The Final Choice. Our time together in this courtyard is coming to an end. But before you return to the chaos of your life, I have to remind you of one final truth. True strength was never about controlling the chaotic world outside. Honestly, you will never tame the ocean. True strength is exclusively about mastering the world within. The weak spend their entire lives trying to avoid struggle. And because they avoid it, their roots are incredibly shallow and they break at the very first sign of a fierce wind. But the strong? They understand that the mightiest trees only ever grow in the harshest winds. Every setback, every failure, every heartbreak you are facing right now is just high-level training for your character. You are being forged in adversity. And so, my student, I leave you with this final, lingering challenge. The storm is here. The obstacle is in your path. How will you choose to respond? Will you choose fear or will you choose courage? Will you choose impulsiveness or will you choose the wisdom of the pause? Stand firm. Stay calm. Let the winds howl around you and remember the greatest Stoic lesson of all. Absolutely nothing outside of you has the power to break you unless you give it the permission to do so.